When someone dies, these famous people die, they usually attach to their death some wickedness about their life. This person died, the guitarist, he died. Next thing they said was addicted to drugs and alcohol his whole life. They just keep attaching. Why? That's what they're known for. Ephesians 4:19 says, who being past feeling have given themselves over. Oh, wait a minute. Remember we read where it said God gave them up? See, some of you didn't like that God gave them up. Like saying, oh, you mean God didn't want to save them? Don't blame God. He says here in Ephesians 4:19, who being past feeling have given themselves over. What does that mean? They volunteered for bondage. They volunteered for slavery. So they showed up and said, make us slaves to sin. Oh, well, that must be God's fault. No. Man is born lost. David said, in sin did my mother conceive me. He says, I'm born a sinner. I'm born lost. All men are born lost. It's man's responsibility to repent and turn to Christ, believe the gospel. So who being past feeling have given themselves over? So they actually gave themselves over. So Pharaoh gave himself over to his destruction. And Nebuchadnezzar had just about given himself over, but the grace of God came and he saw himself and he said, oh, it is God who ruleth in the hearts of men. You know what to God on election day? That we would say, it is God that sets up kingdoms. It is God that brings down kingdoms. Yes. It is God that ruleth in the kingdom of men.
Yes, sir.
So Romans 1:29 says that we're being filled with all unrighteousness. You know what being filled with all unrighteousness means? Completely filled up. Wicked. Lost. I mean, totally consumed by sin. Now we can of course preach entire sermon on all kinds of sins. But I will take just a couple things for this message as we get to a close. If you look there in verse 29, he says, being filled with all unrighteousness, and some of these, again, we won't have time, you know what they mean. Fornication, wickedness. You like simple words? You know, almost theology. You know, I've studied theology, but it's real deep. Wickedness. What do you want? That's wicked. What does it say in another place? Godly. I mean, that's like Southern talk. Are you godly? Yeah, it says godly. That's a pretty good word. He says wickedness, covetousness. Let's get another word. Maliciousness. Don't be malicious, moms, to your kids. You can't do that. Full of envy. Oh, man. I can always tell when my church member men watch football games on Sunday. Because the next day they wanted to buy new trucks. That's the way it always was. Oh, we watched the commercials, envying everybody with a truck. Murder, debate, deceit. Now look at this word, whisperers. What's a whisperer?
Gospel.
It's a backbiter. What else? These make strife among friends and neighbors. See, it's not just talking, they're strife makers. That's the word whisperer means. You're making strife. Making it. Oftentimes my wife or somebody in my house say, did you tell them about such and such? I goes, no. Why didn't you tell them? They don't need to know. Or I tell my sons, because they work in leadership, my son works in politics, and I tell them all the time, and recently I told them again something that had happened. Stuff happens all the time in politics. I said, don't be the origin of the information. Let someone else tell it. It's going to come out. Let it come out some other way. Don't be the one. Why? Don't be a whisperer. These make strife among friends and neighbors, attacking their good name and their reputation behind their backs. And you have nothing to do with the story, so why are you talking about it? What's the purpose? A pastor I know very well just sent me a message a couple days ago, and he said, I think I figured it out more than ever before. Oftentimes they'll bring up someone that's dead, and they'll say, this preacher, and they'll try to say something bad about him, and I always give the same answer. He's dead! He's dead! So what's the use? He's dead! And then there's other men that do bad things, and they have public ministries, and they don't really affect us. We don't really have anything to do with them. The same thing applies. They're dead to me. They mean nothing. Why am I wasting my time? Because if I'm not careful, talking about them will divide people. That it means nothing. It's just nonsense. Whisperers. These make strife among friends and neighbors, attacking their good name, reputation behind their back. Look at the next one. Disobedient. We're going to move on. Disobedient to parents. Why is it that that's there? It's interesting, isn't it? When he says that they that believe not the gospel, disobedient to parents, it's the same phrase about not obeying Christ, of not believing the gospel. The same phrase is disobedient to parents. That's a big word, big phrase, disobedient. It means you're not believing that this is the authority in your life and you're not obeying the authority that God's given you. It's huge that it's placed here. Inventors of evil things. There's nothing new under the sun, but I'll tell you what, man invents new ways to do the evil.
Yes. Amen.
Let's hurry on. Without natural affection. The most unnatural affection is to kill an unborn human that belongs to a woman. You tell me something natural about that? There's nothing natural about that. You say, well, I know that sometimes dogs eat their puppies. That's because all creation is fallen. That's because that dog is under the curse. You ever thought of that? That's not because they're just a dog. It's because they're cursed. Without natural affection. When parents have no affection for their children, that's without natural affection. Well, I was brought up in a house with no affection. Good. Force yourself. Go to the mirror. Kiss the mirror. Practice. Hi, Junior. Hi, Juniorette.
Amen.
That's silly. Do something.
Yes, sir.
Do something. It's sad that you have so much affection for your pets and can't love your children. Spend all this money on the veterinarian, special food, and all this stuff, and your kid's just like, hi. Hi. I've been in homes where a child gets hurt, and I don't mean severely hurt, but I mean a child gets hurt, and the mother, it's like her hands are tied. Oh. Oh. Yeah. And then they pawn them off on someone else. I'm sitting there, you know what I want to do? I want to grab their kid. Let me see your leg. Let me see. Move that. Let me see your foot. Okay. What is it? I want to show, even though they're not my child, and I'm not even hugging them, I just want to show that I have some affection. I care about what's happened to you. Without natural affection.
Good.
Don't get married if you have no concept of any affection. Don't get married. Just don't do it. Well, we'll learn. No, just don't do it until you have some concept that there's supposed to be some affection. Just don't do it. I'll tell you a secret. Don't tell anybody. Facebook. Don't tell anybody. My wife and I'll go out. We'll be in public. I'll say, there's a lot of people here. All right, come here. And I'll just grab her in front of everybody. So why do you do that? Just to show affection. Hope people are watching. See, that's bad. I don't know if it's bad or good, but I like it. You know what I want to do? I want to show affection. I'm not ashamed to show the affection. Oh, by the way, if I do that, it might let other men know not to be showing affection to my wife.
Well,
Hey, I'm not afraid, not ashamed. Without natural affection, we can move on. It is unnatural. Rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. It's unnatural to be a rebellious person in your home under authority. And rebellion is a sin of witchcraft. We'll hurry on. Parents with no concern for their own children to discipline, that's not natural affection. You know what a dog does when the puppy's going to jump off the cliff? He grabs a little puppy, pull the puppy off the cliff. It's natural affection, and that's an animal. So it's not natural for you not to discipline your child. That means for us to be not to monitor what they're doing. I remember this mother, if we came here and you're having piano lessons or something, and they had their child in this room, they would turn their chair around while their child was free to play. And so, why do you turn your chair around? Well, I don't want them to think, I'm watching them. You need to. They're destroying this place. It's natural to monitor them. It's natural to monitor who their friends are. You know, if they have accounts, you need to know about the accounts. Oh, yeah, they have Instagram and Facebook, and they have this, that. So, do you have any access to that? Oh, well, you know, it's private. It's private. Whose house do they live in? Who bought them the phone? Why do they have a computer? Who's paying for the internet?
Amen, brother.
We could go on that. It's not natural not to have regular devotions because it's a natural outpouring of your love for your family to teach them the Bible. You have good Sunday school teachers, I'm sure. Don't trust them. Don't trust them. My kids would come home from Sunday school. Is it true Abraham killed Goliath? Why did the teacher say that? I mean, it's silly things. I mean, weird stuff. Is it true in the Old Testament you had to get saved by works in the Old Testament? The Sunday school teachers. Who knows where they get this stuff from? So, I'm glad you're teaching them something, but you need to do it at home. That's what it talks about, teaching them when you walk by the way, when you rise up, when you sit down. Well, my job doesn't allow it. Change your schedule. Get less sleep. Do it at 5 in the morning. Do it at 8 o'clock at night. Do it. Well, I'm so tired. You don't do anything else when you're tired? You mow the grass when you're tired? Watch television when you're tired? Well, the priorities are kind of out of whack here. All right, hurry up. Abortion, not natural. Withholding affection from your spouse is not natural.
Hey, amen.
Say it again.
It's not. I don't care what your weird excuses are. Well, I'm getting back at him. No. Not natural. Withholding affection from your own children. How about this? Withholding affection from your parents. Grown parents. Why do I have to love? Why do I have to love on the senior citizens around the country? Like the other night when we had people there. Why do I have to do that and get the sense that that doesn't happen to them by their own children? Why do I have to do that? You know why I do it? Because my parents are dead. So I look at some of them, if I know them and they know me, what if this was my parent? What if I said goodbye to them for the last time the other night? And give them whatever affection they'll allow me to give them. And that's been like 10 different people on this swing this year out here that have been ill and they're not well. They could die. Maybe they'll live 10 more years. Maybe they won't. It's not natural. You have adult parents. Oh, they don't care. They understand. You don't know that. They need affection just as much as you might need it yourself. Hurry up. Let's go. Verse 31. Look at the end of verse 31. Implacable. Why are you picking these words? Because you might not know what they mean. What's implacable? Ready for this? No reconciliation. You're not reconcilable. Once you're offended, you offer no forgiveness. You ever been there? I don't care what they do, I'm not going to forgive them. No, that's you. Implacable. I don't care who they are. Implacable. I don't care how sorry they are. Implacable. You're a person that holds grudges. You're implacable. There is no way to persuade you to make peace. You're irreconcilable.
That's a lot. Amen.
That's what it says. That's the list here. Wait, can I just remind you how we got to this list? It says they were filled with all unrighteousness. So you're full of this. Not forgiving. You know, I preached a lot last week about the heart, and the way I guess you know that the Lord's dealing with you is you realize your unplacableness of years ago. It comes up, and you say, man, I never really got over that, did I? All right, let's hurry up. Verse 32, we're going to finish. Who knowing the judgment of God, they don't care, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. Wow. But look what it says, not only do the same, boy, it's going to get really bad. Ready? Here we go. But have pleasure in them that do them.
No shame. Amen.
Here's what you say. Here's what I say. I would never do that. I wouldn't do that, but you'll applaud those that do. I would never commit adultery like that woman did on the show. I wouldn't kill all those people like that man did on television.
Wow. Man.
You have pleasure in them that do them. Hold on, it's going to get worse. Watch pornography. You're not doing it. You're not even committing adultery. You've never cheated on your spouse. But you're having pleasure in them that do it. You encourage and applaud. So the final charge against man, here, of being filled with all unrighteousness, is that you may do all this evil we read. All these things we just read. Maybe you do all that. But maybe you don't do it, but you enjoy seeing others do it. You enjoy the jokes. You enjoy the maliciousness. You enjoy hearing about their adultery. You know what women who watch soap operas for 50 years, they took most of them off the air? You know what they did? They enjoyed, have pleasure in them that do them. I mean, those things were just ripe with adultery and fornication and everything else. And those poor women were home every day, hours a day. Until the men started watching, they were home every day. Then the teenagers started watching. I remember having pleasure in them that do them. So what do we do with all this, Brother Abbott? Chapter 2, verse 1. The same word that we read in chapter 1, verse 20, when we said, so that they are without excuse. Chapter 2, verse 1 says, therefore, after all these sins, after God gave you his knowledge, thou art inexcusable. What does that mean? You have no excuse. Christians have no excuse. What does that mean? It means you have no apology. You can't apologize because you knew better. You have nothing, you don't have a leg to stand on. It's going to get a little bit worse, ready? You have no way to reconcile this like a math problem. What do you do with a math problem? You have to reconcile. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and you have to reconcile the number. You can't reconcile it because you cannot do these sins, Christian. So you have no excuse. It's that word inexcusable is the ana-apologetos. It means no excuse, no apology. There's nothing you can do to convince God that you had a right to engage in these things because you're a Christian. Verse 2 tells us that the judgment of God is according to truth.